You're listening to the Sex, Drugs, and Jesus podcast, where we discuss whatever the fuck we want to. And yes, we can put sex and drugs and Jesus all in the same bed and still be all right at the end of the day. My name is Devanin, and I'll be interviewing guests from every corner of this world as we dig into topics that are too risque for the morning show, as we strive to help you understand what's really going on in your life. There is nothing off the table, and we've got a lot to talk about, so let's dive right into this episode. Hello, my wonderful souls out there. Welcome back to the Sex, Drugs, and Jesus podcast. My name is Devanin. I'm so super excited to have you all with me today because I get to introduce you to my homie, Anthony Gaba DeLaCroix, darling. Yes, I'm going to say that again. Anthony Gaba DeLaCroix. He is one of the shamans that I met when I was down in Mexico doing ayahuasca a couple of months ago. So forgive me, this episode is a couple of months old. We recorded this back in June. Much has changed since then. but he was one of the shamans that helped to guide me through the ceremonies that weekend when I did the ayahuasca, the tobacco tea, and a couple of other things when I was trying to process through everything that happened this year. So Anthony is going to explain to us what the fuck ayahuasca really is, where it comes from. He's going to be very transparent about it and talk about his own struggles dealing with his breakup and how he ended up getting onto his shamanic journey and everything like that. We're going to talk about some archangels, y'all. We're going to talk about supporting people in prison. Anthony's going to offer us a different view on monogamy, that I had never looked at before. So it was quite interesting to be inspired by him in that way. We're going to throw in a little bit of anger and resentment. Of course, we got to talk about religion, y'all. So he's certified in yoga, the musician, his YouTube channel, which is going to go in the show notes. But you can find it at Black Gypsy Music 1 on YouTube. That's Black Gypsy Music 1. His name is Anthony Gaba DeLaCroix, but he does also go by Black Gypsy. And he's on Tumblr, Instagram, YouTube. All that's going to go in the show notes. So I present to you Anthony Gaba DeLaCroix. I could just say his name again and again and again. It just flows off the tongue like silk or some motherfucking shit like that, y'all. Yes. So enjoy the show. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you all. A huge thanks for those of you who have been donating to the show. I appreciate you very much. I'm going to say a special little prayer for you. I love you all, and mwah. Welcome back to the Sex, Drugs, and Jesus podcast. How the fuck is y'all doing today? I'm bringing to you a delicious, beautiful chocolate man. Ha 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 ha. Yes, I see you, white chicks. I'm here for all of that. I'm feeling really goofy and silly on this Friday morning as my guest here, the lovely and honorable Anthony Gaba DeLaCroix, is here to talk to us about some really deep spiritual shit, y'all. Anthony, I'm gonna say his name again because his name is it's so French. Y'all know I'm down here in Louisiana, right here by New Orleans, baby. Yes, they taught us French growing up. It's the basic. Before we knew how to eat, they were teaching us French, bitch. Yes. Anthony Gaba DeLaCroix was one of the assistant shamans when I was down in Puerto Vallarta a couple of months ago trying to fix my head from that bad breakup with that sickening covert narcissist.
Oh wow.
that I had to break away from, bitch, and run. And I say run, not skip down the yellow brick road, make a mad dash, bitch. And Anthony was one of the assistant shamans there. There was one head shaman, or he preferred to be called the maestro, which is like a master in Spanish. And he had 4 people helping him. 4. Not 1, 2, 3, but like 4. And 4. The Anthony was one of those, and we connected. And I was like, I'd like to talk to you. And he has been kind and gracious enough to grace me with the gift of his presence today. And I don't take it for granted. Anthony Gaba DeLaCroix, how are you?
The way that you say the last name, it's just like I got this pizzazz or this glamour about me. It's precious. I thank you. I'm great. How are you?
Fan-fucking-tastic. And so, y'all, his website is anthonydelacroix.com. That will go in the show notes. I'm going to spell it for you right now for those of you who didn't take French. So it's just A-N-T-H. Look, ANTHONYDELACROIX. If you drink that pretty ass sparkling water, the LaCroix, there you go. Your
Just at the
fam-
day.
Does your family make that shit? Let me find
Uh,
out.
no, no, I wish. I wish that'd be nice.
Yo, his website is bad to the motherfucking bone. It has his music on there, videos, his contact information, and everything. And it's so creative and it's so colorful. So, what would you like to tell us about your history, your music, and what led you into psychedelics?
Okay. So I think most of my life I've been a writer. I started off writing poetry. It transitioned into hip hop. I think that's kind of just like a natural flow because to me, like hip hop is poetry. I've been performing for, geez, over a decade for sure. Performing in like just regular venues, performed in prison systems, performed in high schools, taught like writing programs in schools and things of that nature. There almost got signed to, I don't know the label, but the manager was Ian Burke. He also used to manage like Outkast, Goody Mob, Soleil, and whatnot. Arrested Development. Supposed to go on tour with the rest of Development. But then some things started falling apart. Like I was married for a long time. That marriage started falling apart, which led to me going into some very dark places, which I think you can resonate with. I went to some dark places in myself and I stopped everything. I stopped music. I stopped caring about myself. And then I started trying to find ways to bring myself out of that darkness because it started mentally and then it started taking root in my body. So I think I took a very high dosage of mushrooms, which I had never done before. I took like 10 grams and
Huh?
I went and I went into some very interesting and crazy places within myself. Felt like I was gonna die at the end of it. And then I decided like everything that I had been living for, this tool I started building for myself, trying to please other people, it needed to go. It needed to stop. So I I quit my job. Fast forward a little bit. I mean, rewind a little bit. I got sick. So the things mentally they took root in my body and I physically got sick. So I quit my job after that and then moved to Mexico because I wasn't getting the answers to the sickness that had developed inside of my body in the United States. They said nothing's wrong. I checked for all these different kind of cancers and blah, blah, blah. So I went to Mexico and was told what was wrong with me and then decided to go a natural route instead of, through the medical system. Met the shamans and then just took this year and a half journey through psychedelics really and navigating through my own, I guess, psyche or consciousness.
Oh Jesus! Oh Jesus! Oh Jesus! Okay, 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 okay. I love everything that you just said right now. I mean, because I mean, I love that you went through all of that. So I'm very sorry about that, but I can also see how it grew you. So all of our
Mhm.
experiences shape us. And so when we can come out of this shit with better character, heightened spirituality, closer to our higher power, we can look back and say, that asshole that broke us, yeah, that's unfortunate because they were hurting. That's why they did that. But you know what? All of
Mhm.
this, as they say, all these flowers have come up from the dirt.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to commend you on giving a fuck about people who are in prison to go and visit them.
Mm.
Okay. I want to hover just on that for a moment. I don't know spiritually if you identify as a Christian, if you believe in God, Jesus, the great, Gaia, Mother Earth, or whatever. I do want you to answer that question though. And
Okay.
after I get done flapping my gums here about the prison system, but I believe in, God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Ghost. I do not look down on any other person's beliefs though, but you gotta stand for something or you'll fall for anything, as they say. That is where my experiences lie. not in a church. I don't believe in going to church specifically, but I do believe in getting alone with the being greater than myself in order to make it through this life.
Mhm.
The most anti-Christian Christian they'd ever meet, but
I was like,
yeah, I don't call myself a Christian. Well, like Gandhi said, "I like your Christ, I don't give a fuck about your Christians." I'm paraphrasing.
mhm.
Give a
Yeah, I don't think he said it
heard what he
exactly
meant,
like
though. I heard what you meant,
that.
Gandhi. I heard what you meant, Gandhi. But Jesus, Jesus commands us, and he wants us to go and help people in prisons. That's in the Christian Bible. However, most Christians don't do that, and I know people can't do everything, but people go to prison and look, I done been locked up. I got 4 felonies, okay? I know what
Mm,
it's like to go to jail and to be discarded of people. Your family don't come fuck with you, the friends you thought you had don't come fuck with you, and
yeah.
half of them was setting their asses up in church too. And when you go to jail, it's probably gonna be your bartender or your drug dealer that come bail you out. Your family gonna leave you there and judge you. More than
Mhm,
likely. I saw it happen 1,000 damn times. And then when
mhm,
you out, then the judgment continues. So if the Lord told us to give a fuck about people in prison, which he did, this country, the United States of America, these United States of America is so fucked up and backwards. Because when you get out of prison, then doors are closed to you, then you can't go get a job anywhere, and then you're shunned and you're judged. But the Lord told us to have compassion on people in prison, and I would say even more so when they get out. But instead, in a society full of vulnerable people, who don't have enough self-esteem, who think so little of themselves and are always looking for somebody to step on. People who have been to jail are the perfect pariah in their minds to stomp on.
mhm.
All of you Karens and Kens and church folk out there, I'm letting y'all know that y'all can go and fuck yourselves because you're not doing everything the Lord told you to do. Be kind to people in prison like Mr. Gaba DeLaCroix. Each month, I send the donation to this company. I'm not bragging on myself, but I'm just letting y'all know that there's a way that you can help them if you're too uncomfortable to actually go behind prison walls and shit. You want to sit comfortable in your home and watch shit like Orange is the New Black and think you're doing something for them. Okay. Well, there's a company called, it's here in Louisiana at least, and I'm sure they'll take your money globally, called Louisiana Books to Prisoners. And so you
Mm,
send them money and then they send books to people in jail. And it took a long time for me to find any kind of nonprofit organization that does anything for people in prisons because it's just like, oh, well, they over there somewhere forgotten about. And I don't like that. But I'm saying all that to say I commend you for what you did because that does not very often happen.
mm. And the part I love about it the most, when I was 18, I got in trouble. A friend of mine robbed somebody. I just happened to be kind of around, didn't think my friend was gonna do that. So I ended up doing some time, not like in the penitentiary, but county time. I did like 10 months and then have a felony on my record. And I went back into the same place that I was in. So like it was very familiar and it was almost like full circle. Like I felt like I wasn't the best friend to the friend that I had that robbed somebody. I could have stopped him and he was like, nah, we don't do stuff like that. Cause we weren't really about that, but he was just influenced in some other ways. But then I was able to go back in and teach a writing program, and I brought like musicians and dancers and teachers from the city and DJ from the radio station, and we would have an artist showcase, and then we would teach I think it was 6 week, yeah, 6 week course. We would teach them different writing, I guess fundamentals, and then the last week they would do their own showcase, like the inmates. I don't really want to call them like inmates, but that makes sense for everybody. The inmates would have their own showcase where they would perform their poetry or would bring in guitar. There was a guy, he used to be a praise and worship leader, but then he got strung out on drugs. And we brought him a guitar for his performance. And literally, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it now. Like he shifted the whole energy in the room with his songs. Just the power that the person had, but he was thrown away by his church, just like I was. The people from my church were saying that I did a drive-by. That had nothing to do with anything. And maybe 2 or 3 people from my church came to see me when I was in jail, 18 years old. Like I thought I had the church's support. to answer your question on my religious background, I went to school. I went to Bible school in Oklahoma. If anybody knows Oklahoma, it's like the Bible Belt. So I went to Rhema, went to Oral Roberts for Bible education, but I was studying to be a pastor, but I didn't feel it didn't feel genuine to me. Like we had somebody come speak from Israel, and in the middle of the class, he was talking about his friends in Palestine, the beef between Israel and Palestine at the time. And students were like, "Well, why don't you just bomb Palestine?" And I didn't feel like I didn't feel that's just one example, but I didn't feel like we were my circle or the people around me were really I couldn't picture Jesus saying something like that. Why don't you just go bomb these people over here, bomb your brothers, or it just didn't make sense. So I went on this I guess lone wolf journey, and I went through different religions just trying to find maybe similarities, maybe find what resonates with me. I studied Islam, I studied of course Christianity, Buddhism, Hindu. I'm certified in yoga, like, and I found like at the end of the day, you have to kind of write your own scripture. It's like your own love letter to God or the universe or the great spirit or Pachamama, like the spirit of the earth. It's if you're not writing your own love letter and giving your own soul and heart and passion to your higher self or to God, like it's not real. It's not genuine. It's just like you're kind of a cookie cutter and just doing what everybody else is doing, thinking that you're going to receive this same kind of recompense for what you do. But it really, and I think the shamans really taught me that it's one of the things they show me. It's not about performing. It's not about being this person, whether it's music or not. It's about really coming from your heart. And then when you're at your heart and you're performing and giving to spirit, then everybody else around you gets to partake in that energy as well. And it's a totally different mindset.
Right. I interviewed Reverend Reverend Carmen Michael. He's going to be preaching the Pride Sunday service in New York in a couple of weeks.
Mhm,
Him the other day, and I love the way that he described it. And this is a queer man. He's not like some Bible thumper. Everyone's going to go to hell, but you know,
mhm,
I love the way that he described sin. And he was like, sin is anytime you do anything where you're not coming from the heart.
mm,
If you're not leading into it with love, you don't even have to get into like Satan or going to hell. Just if your intentions are not right, when
right, right,
when you lead into it, and so and I was like, you know what? That's a good damn way to sum that up, not coming from the heart and basically being an inauthentic, and faking it
mm,
and not caring about the other person, whoever you're doing whatever with or going to engage with. When you talk about I just want to say that friend of yours who got you hemmed up and caught up in that bullshit. I don't know how you feel about him personally, but I just want to say I don't really feel like he was that good of a friend.
mhm,
You I can tell you're very empathetic and you feel like, it was your responsibility to help save him. Okay, that's how us empathetic people do. We want to go out and save the whole fucking world, whether they want to be saved
right, yeah, yeah,
ourselves down for them to trample all over us. And that's but by the same token, he could have like let you know, or he could have like not done it. You know, it's one thing I did time for shit I did. Yeah, there was an informant and a snitch snitched me out, but still I did the fucking crime. I'm a really, really, if you ain't actually do the shit, no. Mm-mm. That's fucked up. But when you were talking about how you thought the church people would have been there for you. I echo the same thing. When I was at Lakewood Church in Houston, Texas, and they found out I wasn't quite as straight as they would like me to be, and they kicked me out of all of my volunteer ministries. I had been over there with them people for years. Not one phone call, not one text, not nothing from as many of the hundreds of thousands of people that are, I don't fucking know how many, probably that many, but there's a lot of fucking people over there on staff and volunteering. Only the girl that I used to hang out with all the time anyway that I talked to, but none of the other people. After I disappeared, I was a pariah, gone, ostracized. And you would think, when I was a drug dealer, man, If a crackhead went missing for like more than 24 hours, bitch, we went to go find them, knocking on the door, calling it.
Oh,
Okay. Church people, if you go missing, they just figure you've gone off into the world. You're a sinner now, and they just use that to pump up their own self righteousness and move forward. Why the fuck is there more love in a trap house than you have in a church house? Why do you think?
mm, mm. That's an interesting question. And I don't know if I really know the answer to that. I feel like when you're I feel like when you give your space, okay, so I feel like in church sometimes we put on this facade or people put on this facade. And I feel like when you're in the streets or whatever, like I feel like there's more, like you have to be real.
Bingo.
People can understand and people can see somebody who's not real coming 10 miles away. Like I've I've experienced so many strange things in the church where if it happened in I'm calling it the real world, when it happened in something like the streets or whatever, like it would be treated totally different. Okay, take for instance, like I was in jail and I was in like a church setting, and there was a guy who was only going to church because he was afraid of what people would do to him because turns out he was in there for child molestation. Church protected him, but he was only going for that reason, for like, oh, like if I go to this church, people will be kind. Once the people found out in the pod that he was a child molester, like he, he was handled. I don't know if that's the right way to deal with it, but it's just the reality of things where people could be child molesters and hide in church, and that's not just on that one specific interaction that I had. I mean, that's globally. We have churches and Catholic churches where child molesters still have their position,
Hmm.
but because they're under this authority of, you know, God's people or whatever, then they're given a pass. They're allowed to continue to do that. They just shift them and move them somewhere else where they can continue that same pattern. I think I went off on a tangent. I don't fully remember the question.
No, you answered it perfectly when you
Yeah.
said that you have to be real on the street, and that's exactly what it is. Karma comes back around so quick on the street, you don't barely have time to do your dirt before it's back up in your ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And you don't have time to hold up too much of a fake mask because you got to survive. You got to make this move. You got to make that.
Yeah.
You're not comfortable enough. And I'm not saying you don't have liars and deceivers and manipulators, but you have a hell of a lot less of them out there on those streets than you do in the church. And so
Mhm.
y'all don't think just because you go twirling through church, you're gonna go to heaven, or that makes you a Christian or a lovely person. You could be a fake ass bitch and you could be the pastor. Okay.
Mhm.
Happens all the time. My friend um Barry Bowen over at the Trinity Foundation in Texas is a religious, like an investigator. He's a staff investigator, and he digs up dirt on all these mega churches and different pastors and preachers and every damn thing and publishes the receipts. So you look them up on Trinity Foundation or Barry Bowen on Twitter. And honey, he got some reports coming out. And I'm gonna have him back on my show soon because the teapot is to boil over with these churches. And my friend Tanya Levine down in Australia, she runs the Leaving Hillsong podcast, and she's been covering all the dirt from Brian Houston, which is like one of the largest churches in the world, if not
Right.
the and all these scandals. And of course, there's some child molestation going on. You know, look, it's not the gays that's trying to fuck y'all little boys in the ass. It's y'all straight people, quote unquote. All of our holes are filled, honey. We don't have time for your little damn.
Oh, Mark.
We not worrying about him. We got other things to fucking go do. You worrying about us? It's your damn straight uncles. It's your damn straight parents, your grandparents that's fucking your children, not us. Get over it and deal with it, bitch, because we don't want him.
Mm,
I went,
that's very sad. Oh, go ahead.
you know, speak on it, because they try to put everything on us. Everything is the queer people. Everything is our fault.
No, I actually, I feel like more. love comes, I guess, from your community. And it's weird. Like I kept hearing when we were talking about church, wolves in sheep's clothing, but that's the same with uncles or grandparents. Like you have to be, you have to be very particular with people that are hiding their intentions and not being true. That goes back to being authentic and real. Like for you, like you're very real. Like if you had intentions, you would let them be known. It seems like from what I've read about you, you're talking about your diet, you were eating, you were like, I need to eat these things. I need to keep eating because that's what your dietitian is giving you. Like you're just very open, whereas somebody could be hiding behind and giving this facade that they're holy or they're just, they're loving of their family. And then behind closed doors, they're a completely different person. They're just this dark, just operating in dark energy.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Speaking of dark energy, wait, I'm gonna get on that in a second. I went to the Houston Graduate School of Theology, and that's where I was studying to become like a pastor or like a worship leader because I wanted to get on staff at Lakewood. They had the balls, this Baptist person who was one of the professors, to say that they intend to control the congregation, and that was their agenda, that they want to be in control of the people. And I was like, I don't think that that's the point here. Because in the Bible it tells us that a prophet can only repeat what they have heard from God. There is actually no
Mm,
power. We're just conduits of divinity. And so
and that's so.
this idea that we're gonna go bouncing into the church to dominate people comes from nothing but the spirit of Satan, which is the spirit of narcissism, which is the spirit of all of these crazy, all of these psychological profiles. We have these fancy terms for just you're fucking evil. Okay, you wake up out of bed and you go in the church and you're like, let's go dominate this congregation and control them. And I left this school because I was the only person in the room shaking my head no to this. And everybody else was like, sure, let's go and do it. And I'm all like, oh, hell no. Pun intended. Oh, hell no. All up in the fucking theology school. So, that is why movies like The Golden Compass, I'm not sure if you ever saw The Golden Compass.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm.
Beautiful fucking movie, all about religious control and stuff like that. They don't get sequels. They don't give sequels to shit like that. They don't want to talk about things like that. But that's exactly what that fucking movie was about. So,
They made a series about it too on HBO. Is I don't know. I can't think of the name of it, but it came out like last year. But it's same concept. They're trying to steal in the show. They were trying to steal children's demons or souls or extract their energy so they can use it for their own purposes.
look, the Lord has been warning us through all kinds of movies, shows about the dangers of this world, from social media to the church. Y'all stop watching movies and shows thinking it's just entertainment. See what the
Mm,
spirit is saying to you. To put, have your popcorn and your Twizzlers and your champagne, whatever the fuck. Yeah. Have a conversation after the shit's over to see what you can learn and apply to your life. The Lord could be warning you through a show that you're watching. It's like I was watching Finn and Jake on fucking Nickelodeon and shit with my nephews, and there's a bear in there that's an evil bear, but it's a cartoon, y'all. Finn and Jake, learn it. Stop being so goddamn adult and re-meet the child inside of you. Don't ever let him die, and you will stay young.
mm,
Or I will watch a cartoon right now. I don't give a fuck. But
mm.
and I was so proud of my nephew as I came bouncing in the room. I was like, "Oh, that bear looks friendly." He's like, "Nah, dude, that bear is evil." And he was I was like, "Yes, he gets it. People are not always what they seem." And then so you were talking about dark energy, so and not fitting in, like being your authentic self and not just going along like a sheep, like a mindless sheep.
Mhm.
I had a dream when I was a child about and I was being chased by a very dark force in this dream. It would look like a quadruped animal with a tail that had stood up on 2 feet, and it was made up of dark static and dark energy. And this thing was chasing me through the streets, kind of like it felt like maybe I was in San Francisco or somewhere where just like a huge, just sales, just street clothes sales. And everybody was just like shopping, looking at these clothes, and all of these clothes and all these people were covered in this same dark energy.
Mhm.
and this thing chases me into what looked like a bathroom covered in beautiful, like glistening, like not glistening, but pure white tiles. And there was like some mold on within the etching of the tiles. And I had closed the door. It was all white except for that blemish within those tiles. And the thing was pounding on the door, and the dream ended with me getting ready to brace myself to open the door and face it. All of that static and all of those clothes people were shopping represent like the fashions of the world and whatever it is that's trendy, popular, that everybody wants to go and run and do. But what the spirit is saying is that what's popular with man is not going to be popular with God. And you have to
Mhm.
really, 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 really watch what you let yourself get into just because everybody's doing it. I preach vehemently against like sex apps, the use of social media, and what else do I often ride people about? And giving themselves to vice, whatever it is, be it overworking, be it putting their children on fucking pedestals and shit like that. And these things are all popular. People go and have kids, baby shower, and everything like that. The child don't even fucking know what's going on. This is purely for the adults' entertainment. Okay,
This is true.
purely, fucking purely. People go on these apps and sleep all around town. I was at dinner with a friend last night, and I saw that they had Grindr on their phone, and I began to try to talk some fucking sense into them and try to get into like why are you doing this to yourself? And at least they had the wherewithal to confess that they're not happy, that they're seeking validation because they don't feel like they're getting it at home, and that they only go on that app, and then they do meet people to fill a void. And I'm all like, well, that's not just that nothing more than patchwork, right? And they're like, yeah, I know, but okay. So, but that app and other apps like it are ridiculously popular. I know because I used to use them. As Madonna said in one of her songs, I've been on that ledge before, but you can't hide yourself from me. And so I agree with Mr. Gaba DeLaCroix, y'all. Be careful of what you let yourself get into because it's popular. I don't care how good the porn is on Twitter. Put that motherfucking app down because it's draining your fucking mind. Anthony, would you care to give us your opinion on how social media and going from like real to real and letting people the way they let themselves get consumed in their phones could possibly maybe do a little bit of damage to them?
Mm, okay. Well, it's all with energy, and I want to attach something with plant medicine here. So the main shaman his name is Victor. He would teach me that when we have when we make a connection with somebody, whether that's physically or emotionally or over social media, like we attach to their energy and that energy stays in our lives for 7 years. I don't know the math behind that, but he would he would advise people against doing medicine if they had slept with somebody recently. You have to go through that specific diet of, certain foods and no medications and no sex for, 3 days to 2 weeks because you take on those people's energy and then you have to process through their energy as well through your ceremony, which makes it so much more difficult because you got to go through the layers. You got to go through their layers before you get to your own. And I feel like that's the same thing with social media and things of that nature, where we're constantly pulling on other people's energy and taking it in, whether it's good or bad. Hopefully we use it for our benefit because we can actually add to our life. But a lot of times we're just scrolling and moving through, not even thinking about the energies that we're taking on. We're just, oh, that's entertaining. Oh, that's funny. Or that's scary. Or that's sad. But at the end of the day, we have all these other, even on a scientific level, we have all these thoughts that are constantly streaming through our mind that we have to process through, which if you picture like your highest self or God within you as a seed, we're constantly covering it with all these different soils. Maybe some of that soil isn't good. Maybe some of that soil is dry, or what you can get into all these different kind of things. But we have to we have to be aware. Like if you are going to stream, because everybody loves social media. Our phones are our second brains. I mean, I see so often You could be at a restaurant, you could be with your family, your friends. A lot of times we're on our phones. And because it's literally, it's like an attachment of ours. I call it my second brain. That's not being facetious, because I use it for those purposes. For me, it's for investigation. It's for study. Sometimes it's for entertainment. But we need to be more mindful, because the energies that we take on, we're going to have to process them sooner or later. It's going to affect us sooner or later. And the more aware that we are, the more consciously aware we are of it, the more we're able to deal with it, and at a quicker rate.
Consciousness, what you just said, is what is lacking from this whole equation.
Cool.
It really, really, I've started to take a more aggressive tone with talking about this. I tried to be nice at first and kind of be like, okay, people, do what you want to do, but sort this out and sort that out. And it's really starting to like cook my grits, god damn it. Like at a certain,
Cook your grits.
this is the thing. It's really starting to really starting to get under my fucking, it's starting to cook my fucking grit. The way I just constantly see people so miserable, so unhappy, friends, relatives, ex-lovers, okay, and I cannot get them to understand, everything that you just said about the spiritual implications. It's like in their heads, they feel like they can go on these apps and play these games with people and talk to them, and that there's no exchange, or they can actually go and physically be in someone's presence and hang out, be it sexual or non-sexual, and then that's it. People are even so immature, and I'm going to say yes, immature, to say that there's such a thing as meaningless sex. Okay, as I remind people, Anthony, like, you humans didn't create sex. Okay, this was God's idea. So therefore you do not get to rearrange the dynamics of it when it suits you.
Mm.
The dynamics are there. You don't get to just say, so I'm gonna stick my dick in somebody and that's okay. But if they're going to kiss me, then that's too intimate. You know how fucking crazy that sounds? And people say
Mm.
this shit all the time. That's like saying, there's this beautiful car here that I want to have an experience with. If I rub my fingers across it, then that's super intimate and that's just too much. It's too emotional. But I can just slide right into the whole thing and take it for a test spin, and that's cool. Hey, people have
Mm.
lied to themselves just so they can go out and fulfill their lust and have fun and shit and try to make it make sense in their twisted ass fucking mind. And then every time they go and have sex with somebody or engage over social media, they don't understand, like, and these are people who are very insecure. They have no idea who they are already. And then they're crossing all these energies with other people who are just as insecure, who don't know who they are. And then at the end of, say, a year or their lifetime or a snapshot of time, all they have is racked up as a body count or more sexual experiences. And they're no closer to resolving the issues that are within them, the anger, the resentment, the bitterness, the unforgiveness, whoever.
Mm.
Why do you need all this validation? Why are you running around town like this? Why? They don't want to slow down to let their emotions catch up with them so that they can actually find these answers, because that would be too painful. It's far easier for them to hide themselves in another person, in the next experience, in the next business trip, in the next bottle of alcohol, or whatever the case may be.
Mm.
It's sad but touching, as they say out here in the South. It's sad but touching.
Yeah, but like me personally, I like having monogamous relationships. Like the one that I'm currently in, it's like, and I appreciate it, because while I was in Mexico, I was, we do that energy ball meditation, and we're trying to pull in, and manifest what we want. And so I'm manifesting for medicine women, and it came in a package I didn't necessarily expect, as far as she's a little more thug and gangster than I thought it was gonna be. But at the same time, she's really big on not trying to fill voids and working on healing, her own things, as well as helping me heal mine, like making sure I'm eating healthy, or making sure I'm not drinking as much, or making sure that, we're communicating and we're really getting to know each other instead of being like we both could be in so many directions if we really wanted to, because like that's just it. The possibilities are there, but both of us are have come to this point in our lives where like, no, like we really want to build with somebody, not just spiritually or emotionally or financially, like hit them on all levels. There's so many different aspects of us. When you're able to find somebody and really mold and work and intertwine together to build, like there's so many different there's so many different spiritual experiences that you can have in a relationship if you allow it to get to that intimate level instead of, you know, instead of it being a buffet, like I'll try a little bit over here and a little bit over there. Like if you're able to give all of yourself, and this is something with making life like a ceremony. If you're able to give all of yourself, all of your heart, your mind, and give it to another person, which might seem scary, but for ourselves, it's the greatest benefit. I'm gonna switch this because my phone's busted. It's it and it is scary sometimes because to be transparent and to be open, to allow somebody to read your book, but to know that they're going to take care of it. Like you have to have trust. You have to allow yourself to be vulnerable. And I feel like that puts us even closer to spirit. You know, like something like you take the sun. S- The the sun gives itself freely at all times. Same thing with the moon in most nature. It gives itself at all times. It gives us, you know, the vitamins and benefits. Some people don't get the benefits. Sometimes they burn a little more, but it's there for the purpose of giving us light, helping us show the way, helping give light to plants and animals and people without question every single day. And I think for me, that's kind of like a symbol of how we should be doing. We should be coming day in and day out, giving of ourselves freely, not putting up with no bullshit because like if nobody's gonna outshine the sun, at least on this. And I think that's the same with us. Like nobody should outshine us. We should be operating on the same level. But when we allow our light to fully shine, when we allow ourselves to be transparent and vulnerable, we can be so much more of a benefit for the person we're in a relationship with, or those people that are brought into our lives for, you know, our purpose.
Right. And people, you're not going to shine if you keep just doing like more of the same. You have
Mm.
to switch it up and be different. Like what Mr. Gaba DeLaCroix is saying. I could say your name all day. It's so fucking it sounds like a song or an archangel or something. And it's
Oh, Archangel?
yes, yes, yes. I'll say it again, archangel. And so I had a dream about the archangel Michael. Just getting off topic here for a second. When I was on my way back from Mexico after that ceremony, and I had been feeling his presence with me like for much of the year because of how chaotic everything was. As I was in and out of the hospital and everything, and going through. When you were talking earlier about how you stopped caring about yourself, you stopped the music after your breakup, it was the same thing with me. My music stopped because I write music too. I was learning music because I'm getting ready to go to Japan and I have to learn certain Japanese songs as my friends want me to. I still had my business stopped. I had to file bankruptcy the other week because I checked out. I started answering messages again from this podcast, and I looked in there and I said the last time I messaged anybody was on February the 7th, and I just
Oh,
started like yesterday, and it's like June 1st.
mm. Right, right.
I checked out. And so the Lord sent the Archangel Michael to come walk with me, child, because this here was a year. You know, this 6 months was a year. And I had a dream about him, and he presented in this dream as like a cloud with all these like rainbows and different things coming out, instruments and different things like that. And it was most beautiful. I don't know. I just thought I would tell you that he was this beautiful, like dark cloud with all these colors and everything going on. And I just figured you might appreciate that.
No, I do, and we there's been a couple of times in ceremonies where we called on different angelic presence, definitely Michael, to help with situations. I know too, in specific, like this girl, she was having this, her fingers were like locking up and she was just asking for ayúdame, 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 mis manos. Like she couldn't, she was so scared and she couldn't function. And so we were calling on Archangel Michael. And I don't know if it's because with ayahuasca, your senses are heightened, but I could feel his presence. Like I could feel wings come behind me. I could feel Michael on like where her head was at, and I was holding her feet. And then there was another situation where Ali, which is one of the, I would say like she's second in command, we took this girl outside and she called on the presence of angels. And within 5 to 10 seconds, I could feel us surrounded by angelic presence. Like they formed this circle around us as we were praying for her. And it gave me messages both for the person we are praying for and for Ali, which was which was big for me. I was used to the energy, but it was also showing me that when you're on this path of like the shamanic or healer or like empath who's using their abilities for other people, if we, like Ali's been doing this for 17 years, she's been on this path, but she's been taking all that energy in, and it does affect her. It affects her mindset. It affects her heart because she's taking on other people's energy. So like, it's very important that we learn and have practices to process that energy. She taught me once, like, there was one time at a ceremony, these dark energies were trying to come from another person and come into my space. So I set like this sphere of light around, and I would just observe them. Like I could literally see them. Maybe again, because ayahuasca like it opens up your mind, but I could see them. And like spirit was telling me, I want you to ground and put your hand down on the ground. So I felt the ground and I could feel the heartbeat of the earth. And then it was like, why would you, I was given this message, why would you fear these dark energies when they're just coming to you because they desire to be free too? When they desire for, they're coming to your light like a moth to a flame, something like that. It has totally changed my perspective. One, I don't need to protect myself necessarily from dark energies by shielding myself and putting myself in a bubble, but protecting myself by opening up my heart and allowing that light to fully shine. It's almost like I put up this bubble when if I just open up my heart, the light can shine and expand endlessly and infinitely, and those dark energies will be transformed instead of me being fearful. And I think that kind of went away from the angelic thing. I just started going into different experiences with ayahuasca, but I definitely agree and resonate with the understanding of.
Right. And then and how Anthony was saying, like how if you slow down and take the time to infuse every area, every angle of your life with somebody, it's better and more fulfilling. Getting back onto that, I just don't know what I could say to people, Anthony, to get them off of cheap thrills. You know, like a full, sincere relationship, like what you were so beautifully talking about. We're going to come back to those ceremonies in a minute because then I'm going to have you explain to people what ayahuasca is. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Ali because she's been working with me and the seven archangels to detach from like the X and everything like that. And so, and I love her beautiful purple hair and the way she smells of violets and everything like that. I was immediately drawn to her. The moment her and her partner, I'm gonna say strode, honey. They shade into that ceremony hall,
Right.
that healing circle, like they ran that, like they were running shit. I was like, who are them? And so, y'all, a real sincere relationship, there's no bullshit. You're not playing games. You're not there to try to suck the energy out of somebody or get validation. You already know who you are before you engage with the person. It's like a full course meal, all 7 courses from heat to till, top to bottom, all around, well done. Anything else you out there doing with somebody ain't nothing but a crumb off of a table. Period. Period. Not even a Big Mac and a Happy Meal. It's a fucking crumb that fell, and you have learned to satisfy yourself on much of nothing. because too many of you feel like you're not worth more. You have too much fear to try more, and you're unwilling to let go of the old shit from your past. And I was trying to warn people about how when they don't forgive people from old shit, you know, how that still it keeps them in bondage from that person who hurt them. It's like a soul tie to that anger, to that negativity. You can't go too far forward if you still holding on to shit from the past. One of my exes, after we had been together for all those years, Anthony, he talking about some shit that he was still mad about something some girl said to him in middle school like 15 years ago. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, when somebody first does us something, I feel like that's definitely valid and on them. But after a while, it flips over into not what they did, but our unwillingness to let it go. And there's just no way around that. There's too much healing available between YouTube. You could, pick your cell phone up and look up things to heal you rather than more vices to go fall into and to hide. You have a choice. You can pick light or dark, life or death. The path is laid before you. I don't
Right.
tolerate this bullshit from people. People ain't come to me still mad about some old shit. I will hear it, then they'll be like, okay, girl, what's the strategy? We're not gonna sit around here and keep talking about this old shit now. But do you have anything to say about anger and resentments and unforgiveness before we talk about get deeper, just talk about like ayahuasca itself?
Yeah, like it from personal experience, if we keep holding on to it, it really does. I'm trying to think of the word. The word's not important. But if we keep holding on to it, it will manifest in our body. It first, I mean, it'll play in your mind. It'll become a loop if you allow it to stay there, and the mind is just going to do what you tell it to. If you keep thinking about it, you keep focusing on your anger, resentments, or whatever kind of negative energy from that same tree, it'll be like, okay, we'll keep on playing. And then once it gets that message and the feedback enough, it's just gonna run on autopilot, which takes a lot longer to process. But and then once it's taken place in the mind, it'll literally take place in your body. Like I developed physical sickness because I didn't deal with those issues, with that resentment, with that depression, with the anger. And so that's, I mean, like I said, that's why I ended up going to Mexico to try to find answers, to try to find ways to get rid of it. And I wouldn't say that it's fully gone because there's still things that I have to work on. There's still things that I haven't let go. But at least now I know I'm aware enough of when situations are coming up that I need to deal with instead of just it's like if there's that loop, if there's that tape loop, I'm like, I cut it right there. I'm like, okay, now I have to deal with this. And I have to like rewind it or shape it and make it the way that I want to. So I think it's very, very extremely important if these if a person is dealing with anger, resentment, or sadness or depression, like you have to do the inner work. You don't wanna go to the grave with all that suffering inside where you could have gone back and relooked at all those different situations in your life and healed yourself so that you can have more joy, have more peace. Like it's there. It's possible, it's available, but it does take some shadow work, some people call it. It does take being willing to go into those dark places inside yourself and become your own light.
And I encourage people because I believe they have the boldness to do it that they just haven't discovered yet. If you are able to overcome these demons and let go of them people who hurt you, and oh my God, it's so hard. I was talking to this lady through my TikTok channel that I published an episode of video about resentment. And I was like, let go, baby, just hurt you. She was like, I can't let go because they took everything from me. And I was
Mhm.
like, okay, but if you keep being angry, they just come take more from you. You know, it's difficult, but if they can overcome it, I believe that people who can overcome it is going to be so strong. It's such strong contributors of positive light and energy that they're going to look back and not recognize the person they were before. And they're going to be like, I don't know why I stayed angry about that for so long. But when they're
Yeah.
still in it, it's difficult to see. Now, y'all, I don't believe in happenstance. Anthony has an ex who was from Snellville, Georgia. Okay. Now I'm in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Now we're getting ready to get into talking about ayahuasca before we close this thing out. Anthony's gonna tell exactly what ayahuasca is and everything like that. I've tried to tell y'all before, but ain't nothing like hearing it from somebody who's been trained by the great ones. And I had to look the shit up on like Wikipedia, but he could tell you like exactly. I believe that I was in the right place at the right time when I met Anthony. When I was in the mental hospital before I went down to Mexico, I came across mandalas for the first time. One of the girls who was also locked up in the mental hospital was an artist, and she had a coloring book with all these different pages that had all kinds of things, mandalas and non-mandalas, and I was drawn to these things, didn't know what they were. And I started coloring them. I went through 3 different ones, and I was showing them to my hypnotherapist who explained to me what they are and the fact that they carry spiritual meanings. I show up to the healing space in Mexico, and there's all these symbols and things, very mandalas and stuff all over the walls. I was like, "Okay, I'm supposed to be here." The 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 condo that I rented after I left the healing space, I show up there, there's mandalas all over the bed sheets and everything. I don't think that that's happenstance. I think that's God telling me that He's walking with me on this journey. Now, I'm talking to Anthony, y'all. He's telling me about he has an ex from Snellville. I don't know if this is the ex-wife or some other person or whatever.
No,
Okay, okay, different person. But y'all understand Snellville, Georgia, which is outside of Atlanta. Anthony is recording from Atlanta today. Snellville, Georgia ain't even a pin on a map. Okay. It is a small ass town that is it's just like you wouldn't you all the way down in another country, it's not very likely you're gonna meet somebody who has an ex like you do who's originally from Snellville, fucking Georgia.
no.
Okay. Los Angeles, maybe, Miami, maybe, you know, hell, even the heart of Atlanta, but the country ass town of Snellville, if that ain't God speaking, I don't know what is. And so I got a lot of confirmation out of that, that I was where I was supposed to be under the guidance of Anthony, and that also confirmation that I was supposed to indeed let that particular individual go, which is something I struggle greatly with because I was so attached to him. Vincent, that's why the lead shaman had to Victor, the lead shaman had to give me 2 fucking doses of the tobacco tea as the only person, because first one didn't work because my body just did not want to let the ex go. Even though in my head, I knew it was the right thing to do, my heartstrings were too attached to him because I dedicated myself to some honey, people envy my cats. They wanna come in here. They're like, "Can we come be one of your cats?" 'Cause I spoil the fuck out of anything and anyone, because I take the livelihood of humans serious. There's nothing more valuable in this earth than human life and the life and just life. And so not experiences I can go have or things I can do, and I take it seriously. If I have influence over somebody, I'm gonna take damn good care of them. And I dedicate myself to them all the way, or I don't fucking do it at all. And so it was very, very difficult, for me to get unwound from him. And so Ali is so he has an ex from Snellville. I have an ex from Snellville. Y'all pay attention when the spirit is speaking to you. Don't just shrug shit off as, oh, that's interesting. No, dig deep into that shit and find out what God is saying.
Mm.
Ollie, you know, is working with me with the 7 archangels and everything. She's giving me rituals and things to do to help, with the psychic attacks that were coming from his negative space and everything like that. Um, I wish that my light was bright enough by itself to just convert his darkness. I tried it. It just but when you're dealing with 2 people in a close, intimate space, if the one person is unyielding to the light, then you gotta go. For fuck's sake, I tried everything. And, so Ali and I we just had to cut it off because conversion wasn't possible. And so can you tell us in your own words what ayahuasca is?
Okay. In simple terms, the brew is a vine from one plant and leaves from another. You take the vine and the leaves, they boil it with water until it starts to become thicker. Can take anywhere up to 48 hours, so 2 days. But during that process, there's prayers going on. We have what you call mapacho, which is like organic tobacco from the jungle, and we use it for prayers. Blow over it, You say prayers, praying over the medicine, praying over the leaves, giving it intentions, giving it power. There's also songs that are sung. Some are Icaros, which are songs of plants that when shamans are, uh, they spend a lot when you're working towards being a shaman, you spend a lot of time with nature. And then the plants actually, through connection, they give you their personal songs that you can use in ceremony to bring their energy in. Just like you can make a literally, I've never even thought about this, but you can make a song about Archangel Michael, which will call his energy into that. But so it's leaves of one plant, vines of another, brewed for 48 hours with prayers, with intentions, with meditation. And there's some myths about it, maybe not factual, but myths. One is that the spirit of Jesus came to a specific shaman in the jungle and said, I would like you to combine this and this vine and these leaves from these plants together, totally different plants in different places. And it's going to bring healing to my people or to our people. Another one has to do with a bird, kind of the same situation. But the plant itself, it's for me, it's like having a conversation with the spirit of the earth. And it will pinpoint what it is that you need to work on, that you either need a boost to get to that place, like it needs to like, just shoot you in there, or as the more that the conversation builds, it's just to get you to see what you need to let go of or to work on. So like for me, for a year and a half, it was constantly, Anthony, you need to learn how to serve yourself before you serve others. I'd be in situations where the lead shaman is like, I would like you to play a song. And the medicine's like, no, I want you to go under so I can deal with what needs to be dealt with. And then I would go play the song and then my fingers lock up like I've never played the guitar. And I just can't play. It's like, I think, like, I don't know if anybody, like musician wise, when you first start playing an instrument, you're trying to figure it out. It's like I lost all memory of how to play this instrument until I surrendered. And then the medicine conversationally was like, who are you here really to serve? I understand that you have this teacher, but I'm who you're supposed to be serving. Sarah. So some people envision this medicine as it's referred to as this grandmother. But to me, it's all of nature. Like the medicine will say, put your hand on the ground and feel the heartbeat of the earth, and then learn to move your life to that rhythm. When my very first time of taking ayahuasca, it was kind of hard to walk. It's like I was a baby, like I had never walked before. But once I understood it's almost like I could feel the earth kind of waving or moving underneath. But once I understood to move to that rhythm, walking was easy. Moving and being able to operate is easy. Like sometimes people have questions like, how are you able to function and move around and do the things that you guys do during ceremony? Being able to play songs for hours or help somebody go to the bathroom is because the medicine is like it it teaches you how to flow through life. That's why I have this mindset now, like life is a ceremony. Everything whether it's a relationship or whether it's anything that you put into anything that you put your attention on, you have to go through this period of moving into it, staying committed, letting go and surrendering to what needs to come about, and then moving to the beautiful spaces once you let go and surrender. And I think that medicine, I think ayahuasca is to me, I didn't grow up with a lot of family. I knew my mother and my father. My father's from West Africa, my mother's from Puerto Rico. That medicine has literally become my grandmother. I'm not even like doing ceremonies at this present time. Like I haven't done a ceremony in about a month since the ceremony that we had. But I still hear her voice very strongly. And I feel like this grandmother I see this picture right now in my head. It's this grandmother stirring this pot in the kitchen. I'm sitting at the table and she's like, it's almost ready. Like she's making this food. And I feel like she's never going to leave my side. And she's always going to be there whenever I have a question, whether I'm in ayahuasca or not. It's almost like I'm engrafted in that vine, which could even, you could go back in the scriptures of that being engrafted in that vine. And it's literally a vine, part of the plant. That answers maybe that answers a little more though than what you asked, but
You've done a fine job. See, y'all, I told y'all he's better than the Wikipedia shit I had looked up. You know, I never heard it broken down like that before. It's a marvelous brew. You know, I'm so pleased to have had that experience with you, and it's, you know, everybody comes out of it with a little something different or a big something different. But the but the healing, you know, is there. It's another way, it's a form of, is another form of medicine. You know, a lot of traditional therapies don't work for people. You know, I have a psychologist, psychiatrist, and all of that, but what I was going through, I needed a deep work. I needed to get back to nature for this. There is power and strength in things that come out of the ground. That's where you get like a lot of like witchcraft and magic practices and different segments of the voodoo religion from getting back to the basics. That's why you can do things like throw salt in your yard to banish bad spirits, or red pepper across like the threshold of your front and back door. You know, there's power, you know, in things that come from nature. You can take like ivories and put them in businesses around your home because they grow fast, so they tend to bring prosperity. As the prophetess, you know, my leader evangelist Nelson told me growing up, and the old people down here, you know, would talk that sort of talk. They knew what was going on with these plants. They knew, grow this, plant this, take this, you know, pour circulation in your legs, honey, go get you some cherry juice. Okay. If you catch
Mm,
hepatitis, you know, blueberry juice can help to heal your liver and things like that. You know, there's all kinds of like, secrets out there, going on. And I think ayahuasca is just one big, huge, remedy straight from the earth, like a lot of these spiritual practices that I heard these old people talking about down here, y'all. So look, I don't know. Y'all better be thankful that the Lord has us recording this stuff, because there's a lot of this old knowledge and stuff, died with the elders, that I grew up in, and not all of them was on TV and stuff like that. I was raised by the old people, by the ancients and stuff like that. So I was hanging around people that had gray hair and shit, learning and sucking up knowledge and wisdom from them, you know. And I'm about that life. I'm happy I'm recording it for y'all, because people people in this day and time, man, that they don't know shit about, like, nothing but, like, they fucking cell phones and shit, and I'm like, "Okay, y'all, we
uh,
can do a little bit better than that." And, I heard his music, y'all, at the ceremony. Is also on his website, but I had the privilege of listening to Anthony play his guitar and sing personally, just to me. I mean, there was, like, other people in there, but I know it was just for me. So, and I appreciate you coming all the way to Puerto Vallarta just to give me a personal ushering in the spirit through your own music. And he has a beautiful voice. It flows. It's very hip hoppy. It's like spiritually hip hoppy, rhythmicy, and things like that. And I look forward to supporting your music through purchasing it. Um, the Snellville thing, like when I told you that I had an ex from Snellville, did you gain any sort of confirmation, or did it do anything for you at all? Or did you feel like maybe that was something that I needed, that was flowing through you as the leader in the situation?
mm. I don't look at life really as leaders and
Okay.
students. I feel like we're always a student and teacher. And I could go on that for a while, but I think it was for both of us. Just showing that's like you said, it was confirmation, because I think we all need kind of signposts as we're going along our path. I think I could be 100 years old and I'm still gonna look for signs that I'm on my right path.
Okay.
So I think that was for both of us. And it's interesting. it's there's so many weird things that I've seen when I was in Mexico. I feel like spirit is just like, I could be wide open in myself and share the things. So after a while, it's just kind of like, okay, I got you, spirit. It's not so much like, it's not so much mystical anymore. It's just part of normal life. And I appreciate that. It's but each individual experience where there's some kind of sign, just like with you with Snowville, it's just like, okay, there's some kind of connecting point down the line. I felt like this, this interview right here. There's something that there's something that we will do together that will have an impact on someone else. Mhm. That's what I felt at that moment. I don't think at that moment when we talked about that, I knew that you were gonna do an interview. I think you asked me later.
Right.
Yeah? But I did feel like there was something impactful that was.
Hells yeah. Well, it's just like I wore my this is my hysteric glamour shirt, which I got when I was in Tokyo a couple of years ago. And, hysteric glamour says down here, always looking ahead.
Mm,
And so I thought that that would be appropriate for the situation for our dynamic today. This is a brand that you really can't find in the States too much. And so if you would like a hysteric glamour shirt, let me know. I'll be in Tokyo in a couple of weeks and I go and live there every couple of years. And so I'll be happy to bring you something back. Just let me know and I can make that happen.
yeah, please.
Oh, you're gonna have to remind me, baby. You
Right.
have to
E
remind.
eve even that connection, like my daughter, she's been taking she's in Japanese. She just finished Japanese 4. All of my children, they're, like, really big into anime, so we're always watching something in Japanese, like, we're watching Demon Slayer right now, it's a Japanese anime. But my daughter, she's, like, in the Japanese Honor Society this year. She's kind of fearful about going to Japanese 5 because it's a difficult language, one of the most difficult languages, but she had this idea before about moving to Japan, becoming like a graphic designer, doing, things like anime. Things like so even those small things that seem insignificant are connecting.
Oh, hell yeah. I appreciate the fact that you and your family are bothering to learn the culture. So many people consume the anime, eat the ramen noodles and everything like that, which is great. But the people of Japan want you to give a fuck enough about them to learn their language, to learn their customs, to learn their cultures. I study the language too. I would have been further along with it. I had to stop my Japanese studies when the breakup and everything happened because I didn't have the mental energy to focus
Yeah.
on it. Japanese, in my opinion, is actually easier than the English language because like you don't have all the parts like like in Japanese, either you are doing something or you did do it. The way it goes, the subject verb agreement is completely different. So once you memorize that and you get to knowing it, it's actually the symbols make it look complicated, but the way what you're saying, Japanese people talk like Yoda did. He's like, "To the store I go, to the store I went," that sort of thing.
Mhm.
It's actually it's so simple that it looks complicated.
Right.
But so yeah, so that's great. A friend of mine moved there not knowing Japanese. And she wanted to go and she had her own reasons. And now she's still living there, completely fucking fluid in the language. She works there and everything like that. And so and she was not as prepared as your daughter is. And so if that's a dream that your daughter has, I'm here to let her know that it's totally fucking possible. Although people speak a shitload of English in Japan. And so, but that is totally possible. I know somebody who went there knowing not anything, and now they could lead fucking tours all over Japan if they wanted.
Right.
Fluid in that shit. And okay, so we're about to enter our dad joke session, and I'm gonna go ahead and let you go. His website, y'all, is anthonydelacroix.com. His music is there. Can we buy your music there, or shall we go over to iTunes and download it? Okay, so everything is there at the
It's
website.
it's on all streaming sites pretty much, but you can purchase it straight from my website.
So what y'all can do, you know how y'all like to get y'all LSD and y'all shrooms and shit and kiki on the weekends. Y'all can get Anthony's music since it's very spiritual and use that in whatever sort of journey that you're trying to have. I think if you're vibing with his energy and everything like that, it's like he will be there presently with you in a way. I find his energy to be very calming and very soothing, which is not something that I find very often from, people from males of color. And so because it's just the fucking truth. There's a lot of shit wrong with our people, but we gonna get it right. It's just but I'm very happy to see that your greatest strength is that you don't mind being wrong. That to me is one of your greatest strengths. Because whenever I've asked you a question during this interview, you just very calmly would say, "I don't know if I have an answer to that." And it is what it is. Either you do or you don't. It wasn't, I don't have an answer to that, and this makes me a terrible person, or fuck, how come I don't know the answer to everything? It wasn't a whole thing. Either you know it or you don't. And if you don't, oh well. Because you don't know everything. That is confidence, that is having a realistic approach to life and to yourself, because you're not Superman. Even though you got enough muscles to be Superman, you understand that you have limitations, and that is a part of the human experience. That is called balance, people. You're not perfect and you never will be. So just get fucking over it and have a Mai Tai and it'll be okay. Okay. Dad joke number one. What invention are these today? Today's dad jokes are courtesies of readersdigest.com or rd.com. What invention allows you to see through walls?
What? I'm supposed to answer these or just take a guess?
Yep. Try.
What invention allows you to say three words? Ayahuasca. I was kidding.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, the veil was torn. We on ayahuasca. You can see through everything. Actually,
Let's see.
windows.
Yeah. Yes, this is true.
Dad joke number two. What did one plate say to the other plate? These are dinner plates we're talking about, like your food you would eat.
I don't know.
He said, "Tonight, dinner's on me."
Oh my God. These are totally dad jokes.
Okay, last one. Dad joke number three. How do you make holy water?
Yeah. Tell me tell me the pathway.
You boil the hell out of it.
Oh my. Dad? See, dad jokes are like, they're like, is that really funny? But they have so much truth in it. You boil the hell out of
Right, right.
it.
That was our comic relief for today. This is Anthony Gaba DeLaCroix. His website is anthonydelacroix.com. We'll go in the show notes. Anthony will give you the last words. You can say anything you want about anything at all, and then that'll close us off. And then I'm gonna shut my cock holster up.
Okay. Hey, you use this word heartstrings. And I think it's very important for everybody to be aware that it's not just a phrase. It's when we attach or we start building a connection with somebody or something. If you can visualize this, you're literally sending energy out. And it looks, to me, it looks like strings. It looks like if it was coming from your heart, it looks like strings. And then they kind of start interweaving them attention, as Victor would say, you don't pay attention, you press attention. You move that attention into it and it just starts forming and it starts combining and interweaving. And the more that we become aware of that, we can have an understanding and we can kind of dictate and co-create where our life is going to go and what we're going to draw to ourselves, what we're going to bring back. Because if you just allow yourself to be open, and this is something that's big with ayahuasca, afterwards, you're not supposed to just go out in mass public because your energy is wide open. But I like to think our energy is always wide open. And if you're not aware, let me change that. If we could become more aware on what we allow ourselves to be open to, we can move through life in a more peaceful and joyful way. Like the calmness that has come from my life, one person could say it's because I've done so much plant medicine in the past year and a half. I've done ayahuasca close to 30 times. I've done bufo a couple of times. I've done mushrooms, who knows? But it's because of the work that I did in myself while on those medicines. Those medicines only gave a boost, but it was me. I am the medicine. And I think that's the greatest thing that I've taken away outside of learning to serve myself. We are the medicine. Everything that we speak, everything that we do is either going to be food for our soul or poison. Every single thing, it's one extreme or the other. In every interaction we have with another person, whether it comes from our voice, whether it comes from our thoughts, whether it comes from our actions, we're either giving food and light and energy that's going to bring health, or we're going to be destroyed, ourselves or the other person. And if I feel like if we can look at life in that binary mode of thinking, everybody can live a much more peaceful, happy, and more blissful life, or more controlled, have more awareness and control over our own lives. Instead, you're never going to be able to control what somebody else does. You'll never be able to make somebody else love, but you could become a definition or the epitome or a vessel for love to flow through. And when you allow yourself to be fully encompassed by that, it doesn't matter if another person loves you or not. They're just going to be drawn to that energy. And nobody can steal your energy if you don't give it away. It's all binary thinking in my mind. It's either I'm here and I'm working on myself and I'm moving in my energy and I'm drawing those things to my life, or I'm just open and allowing whatever comes to come. That's my 2 cents.
And I cannot follow that up with anything at all. Thank you for coming on the show because if you can fix shit, fix it if it ain't broke. Well done.
Right.
Well done. Thank you so much for dedicating your energy to the Sex, Drugs, and Jesus podcast and to this whole role, which is the community that we serve. Thank you so much. And I look forward to doing this again one day in the future.
My pleasure. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you all so much for taking time to listen to the Sex, Drugs, and Jesus podcast. It really means everything to me. Look, if you love the show, you can find more information and resources at sexdrugsandjesus.com or wherever you listen to your podcast. Feel free to reach out to me directly at devanin@sexdrugsandjesus.com and on Twitter and Facebook as well. My name is Devanin, and it's been wonderful being your host today. And just remember that everything is going to be all right.